Hello and welcome back to Law Torn, the podcast which explores what really happens when family fights turn into legal battles. My name is Samara Dutton. I'm a partner at Collier Bristow in the Private Wealth Disputes team, and my co-host Philippa Dolan is a partner in our family team. Hello, Philippa.
Hello, Samara.
How are you?
Okay.
Good. I think I've realised that you never asked me how I am.
No.
It just doesn't work that way.
You tell me anyway.
I will tell you. I'm quite excited today, Philippa, because we have had another question in about a topic, firstly, which is for you to answer, because I know next to nothing about it. And two, because I think it's really, really interesting one. So this is on sort of children and parties wanting to take their children away from, what would you call this?
Out of the jurisdiction.
Out of the jurisdiction, yes. Okay, so I'll read through what's come in and then we'll have a chat with you. It says, Dear Philippa, my marriage has sadly broken down. I'm living unhappily in London with my 10-year-old son and 7-year-old daughter. I'm from Italy originally, and although I've been in London for 12 years, I'm desperate to return home to where my family and many of my friends still live. My husband, so they're broken down, but they're not yet divorced, I guess, the relationship. Yeah. My husband refuses to let me or to agree to my taking the children to Italy. He has a new partner who also has children, and they are based here. So I've been told that I can't just take the children without his consent, but I know they'd have a better life in Italy with my parents and wider family around to help. Husband's family are all in Scotland, so being based in London, the children only have an intermittent relationship with them, whereas they see my family a lot more, see my family a lot more often. So how does she go home to Italy with her children? I mean, just before you go into that, is this quite a common problem? Because I actually have a friend.
Increasingly, because we're a more global
community,
and people move around a lot.
More international relationships, etc. Because I have a school friend who had a very similar situation where he had a child with an Italian woman here, and then she took the child over there, and he battled for months and months and months.
Did she take the child without his agreement?
Yes.
So then you get on to child abduction.
Yes.
And which is under the Hague Convention.
Yes, that's what I remember him talking about.
Did he get the child back? He should have done.
I think he did. Yeah. Anyway, but yes.
We'll talk about it some other time.
So, I mean, why in this situation can't a parent simply take their children where they'd like to? I mean, I'm assuming based on these facts that husband has moved out to live with new partner and left the listener with her children. So she's been left with sort of parental responsibility. She's the one in charge.
No, not necessarily. They both have parental responsibility.
Okay. Wrong expression, but she's the one looking after them day to day.
Well, maybe. We don't know. We may have them, 4 days a fortnight, quite possibly. In fact, probably. The fact that he doesn't want her to go is a good indication that he wants to preserve his relationship with his children, I would think. But it's all, remember, about what's in the children's interests. And there has been a kind of change in the last 10, 20 years, certainly, where an unhappy mother was regarded as the most important element in the whole jigsaw. So usually mothers were allowed to go. I mean, obviously there were exceptions, but now the most important issue is what's the children's relationship with their father like, and to what extent will it be damaged if they move to Italy? I mean, if they move to Italy, they probably see him if there's money in the family once a month, say. If it's New Zealand, it's not going to be that often. So there's an element also, I think, of how difficult it is to maintain a regular relationship.
So there's two things. So if you are in this listener's position, you want to move home, you've spoken with the husband, he's said no, under no circumstances can you take my children to Italy, then what then is the next step for you if you're determined to do this anyway?
You apply to the court.
Okay.
You apply to the court. If you just up sticks and take them, then you'll probably almost certainly, unless he's very violent or something, you'll almost certainly be ordered to return them. And then there's a big black mark against you.
Right.
So then, you can still pursue the application. So you make an application to the court asking for permission to relocate.
Right.
And it's expensive and complicated, and I mean they are probably the most emotional cases I've done, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's no, oh well, I'll give you 50,000 less than you've asked for, or okay, you can have the kids on Tuesdays as well as Wednesdays.
Zero sum game.
Binary, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're going or they're not.
And you said that the decision of the court will mainly be based on children's best interest of the children?
It's 100% based on what's in the children's best interest.
It's such a difficult thing to determine.
Well, of course, yes. But and then you give factors in everything, such as if you wanted to go to Moscow, then the chances are there'll be a sense that might not be in the children's best interest, or maybe Kyiv rather than Moscow, but somewhere which has got problems. Somewhere where they don't speak the language and they've got to adapt and learn the language. The court looks at education, looks at healthcare, looks at everything. It's almost like a big sort of travel brochure that you have to produce and say that they'll have a wonderful time here, or they'll have a horrible time. So, but that's part of it, and it all goes into this mix of what's in their interests. But now, having a relationship with both parents is seen as the primary concern.
So whereas before the sort of objective was make sure mum's happy.
Well, it was always children. It's always framed around children's interest. But as fathers have been playing a greater and greater role, and as there's been a slightly different approach adopted by the family court that both parents are important.
Yeah. Then that's just reflected in the kind of outcomes rather than the reasoning. These children 10 and 7, are they asked? Do their actual views?
Yes.
And how does that work in practice?
It depends. So if you've got a very articulate, clever 10-year-old, and is the 10-year-old the boy?
Yes.
And he's capable of making up his own mind. He hasn't just had propaganda dripped into his ear. As the social worker who interviews him concludes, then his views will carry quite a lot of weight. The 7-year-old probably less weight, but she'll still be asked.
And they're asked outside of the court process, and then that's reported.
Yeah.
How does a social worker become involved? Do you as a solicitor go off and find someone to speak to the child?
Well, the starting point is there's the CAFCASS officer who's a court-appointed social worker. So they're the ones who are the kind of default position.
Right.
But because you may have heard, there are financial difficulties in the family court.
Along with every other court.
So there are cuts. So the CAFCASS, there are fewer of them. They're more overworked. It's not working that well. I mean, some of them are brilliant, some of them aren't. It depends. So a lot of people with enough money will ask to have an independent social worker, and the court has to agree to that. Okay. And the other side have to agree as well. So the parents have to agree, but they will spend more time on it, speak to more people. Italy, for example, an independent social worker may well be paid to go over to wherever they're planning to move to.
Oh, so they can...
And ascertain what it's like in the area. And of course, if it's Italy, they'll probably be happy to go. So do
you have a sort of private social worker network? I didn't know that. But
yeah. Okay. There aren't enough of them. Whenever we need to get one, we always say to each other, who is there? And they're all either they've left or... you know, I don't know, it's probably a hard job.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously they get paid a lot more than a court-appointed social worker.
Interesting. So they would be previously kind of
probably
LA...
started off as CAFCASS, and then they've moved into private. Yeah. And it's a hell of a gamble. I mean, I've won things I thought I'd lose and lost things I thought I'd win.
And there's no real... Do you ever find, because obviously in most areas where we litigate, we're always looking to settle, but as you said, this is they go or they stay, so presumably this is a very hard thing to settle. Yes,
it is, although there's an encouragement to try mediation, and it's less brutal. I mean, if you think you're going to lose, you'd probably rather go to mediation and get the best deal available and feel you've contributed to the decision in a way. Although also parents sometimes feel they want their children to know they fought for them when they grow up, you know. So there is also this dilemma of, do you look like you just said, oh sod it, go to Italy, you know, rather than actually
take you to court to find, wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot to sort of weigh up, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, and it's expensive, obviously, because you've got about 3 hearings. You've got a trial, effectively.
On top of the hearings?
No, the last hearing.
Right,
it's calling it the trial, final hearing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's where you have cross-examination and the judge gives judgment and the experts can be cross-examined and...
Would you have witnesses come in?
Can do, yeah.
To sort of say, I know
my son-in-laws are bad and...
and my daughter's wonderful.
Yes, but not often, because they're not usually impartial.
Yeah.
But you can do. And health considerations, you know, if someone's got a child has got a condition, that can make a big difference. And it's not always... But I've done a couple of internal relocation cases recently, which is, i.e., they're not leaving.
I was going to ask actually. So is it different if you just want to move?
No, the
3 hours
principles are all the same.
Okay.
Are all the same. And in fact, we had a case in the last year or two where we were successful and we acted for the father, and the mother only wanted to go to Cambridge, but.
And managed not to stop her going to Cambridge?
Managed to stop her going to Cambridge, yes. Because if you've got a child and you're an active parent and you know their friends and their friends' parents, and you go to all the sports things and the ballet or the drama, then you play an active role in the school. So it is right that when you look at the child is going to lose their father or mother, you know, they're waving them on the cricket pitch, then it's kind of, you know, it's still something that's being taken away from them, and you balance.
And you need to
what
have
they're
a good
gaining.
reason. So presumably in this case there wasn't a strong reason for...
It wasn't a strong enough reason, yes. And we had an independent social worker in that case, and she was very much on the father's side. So again, that's very important.
And does it work in the same way? You said if you took children abroad without having had a decision made by the judge or without consent from the partner, then you'd get a black mark against you. Does that work in the same way if you take them to Manchester? Or?
Yes, it does. But interesting you say that, because I've certainly had cases where the parent has just upped sticks and disappeared in the night, and of course it takes months to actually get them back. Hague, overseas abductions are different. And then there's this international sort of rule that no one's going to be able to benefit from doing something so sort of dastardly. But internally, I've also seen it's worked for people. They've gone off to Manchester, they've taken the children, the other parent has to then think, oh, I've got to, go to court because I've then got to get an order that you bring them back. And at that point, if the children have been in a school for 9 months, very happy in the first team for whatever it is, then once the judge again looks at what's in these children's best interests,
that's going
then it can
because the sort of
it.
hypothetical they might be happy in Italy is different to they're here now and they've adapted. Yeah. And if you drag them back again, it's going to be another trauma, presumably.
Yeah. But, I mean, obviously the courts want to get them back because the parents behave badly in taking them away, and it isn't in any way fair. But I've seen it work.
Tactically as a parent.
But if it doesn't work, of course, then you've got a black mark.
Yeah.
Because then you're not going to succeed probably in getting the court to support you going to Manchester with the approval of the court.
Later on. And are there ever circumstances in which it is justified? I think you mentioned sort of violence, didn't you? Like that you get abroad or internally, that it is justified to just get your kids.
Well, yes. One is what's in the children's interest. Being in a violent household isn't in the children's interest, so that would always count heavily.
But presumably you've got to prove it.
You've got to prove it. Well, fair enough, actually.
Yeah, no, that is fair enough. But it's not an easy thing to prove, is it? If it's not outright physical violence, there are other sort of forms of abuse that can be equally damaging.
Yes, but rightly you do have to prove it, because I've seen cases where there are false allegations and they're very painful for everyone. So, you know, it's very complicated, and I think it's actually the right thing that you want children to have relationships with both their parents. All things, you know, unless there is something wrong with one of the parents, but it can end up with a very unhappy person who feels trapped, because of course they're free to go, but they have to leave their children behind.
Yeah.
So it's like being in prison because you just can't go.
Yeah, where you feel you need to be with your children. And the court's ruled on it. Presumably this is a sort of endless argument, because if circumstances change, you can appeal that specific decision at the time, but also if something happens. So one of the things that weighed in on the judge's decision that was an important factor changes, would you potentially bring the application again and say, now can I go?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's never a final cut-off. I mean, obviously you're at risk on costs and annoying the court, and sometimes the court will, you know, make an order that you're not allowed to keep applying.
Yeah.
But in theory, yes, as long as you can say, no, now it's in the children's best interest to be able to go. New relationships are quite important as well. So if you want to go move out of the jurisdiction and you're in a serious new relationship with someone, that often can make the judge feel, well, you know, there's this new family and this person has now found a love and so on. So as long as it's in, you know, the children are going to be happy. But somebody, or there's a career, you know, something important in their career, that can work. But just to kind of, oh, well, I hate it here, I'm going home, that probably these days would be more tricky to win.
Because I imagine a lot of the arguments are sort of couched in terms of this is the children's best interest, but are actually sort of reflective more selfishly of what the parents want or need to do. It sort of pitches everyone against each other. It just sounds really unpleasant, actually.
But there is no better way of judging it.
No,
you can't argue with the principle. It's just how people apply the principle. That's
I wouldn't want to be a judge making that decision, making that call. I think of all the things they have to decide, something like that must be one of the hardest. Because
even if you know, most things are, you know, they're heartbreaking when someone's children are going to live with the other parent, for example, but they're still around and you still can see them frequently. Whereas this can be, and if it's not a lot of money in the family, I mean, who's going to afford getting on a plane and...
Well, exactly. And also, as you say, it's just that sort of being outside of their day-to-day existence, you know, not knowing the people they know, not knowing the routines they have or being a part of them ever. At least if you've sort of left them in a home that you used to live in, then you'll still have an association with it. So I can see how sort of emotional it is for parents.
You do feel cut off, I think. I'd say most of the relocation cases I've done, the international ones, have been someone wanting to go home. I mean, you're very sympathetic. You know, they've had a horrible divorce. They're heartbroken. They've never really fitted in London or wherever it is, and they really desperately want to get home. But it's not that simple.
It's not that straightforward. Not about you anymore.
Yeah.
Just finally, have you done the sort of Hague abduction-y ones? Did they get the police involved? I seem to remember my friend saying they had police for her at the airport, or so. It's quite full on, isn't it?
I mean, it usually takes months.
Yeah.
Personally,
no, it did.
I've never done it. I've been sort of Hague close by,
adjacent,
Hague adjacent, but I haven't actually done one myself. But they will take months. You do get legal aid for it.
Okay.
It's quite unusual. You know, you don't normally get legal aid for anything these days. But if your child has been abducted, you can get legal aid to apply under the Hague Convention to get them back.
And then you'd get a solicitor here, presumably, to help you contact a solicitor or someone over there. And then you use this process to use the authorities over there.
Yeah.
But so she was sort of arrested and told you need to fly back to the UK now. And then when you get here, then you have the argument.
Start an application, yes,
then
that you can then do the thing properly.
But with this big black mark.
But with a big black mark. I mean, usually. Sometimes.
I mean, but ultimately it is children's best interest still.
Yeah.
And I suppose by then you've still got a bit of the argument that, well, now they do know life over there and they've had a great time.
But they were never happy here. I mean, yes, you're right. But I think the general rule, the courts do want the Hague Convention to mean something, and they do want not to allow people to just go abroad with their children.
I think we noticed the relationship's breaking down in our example, but they haven't yet got divorced. Presumably, they are going to get divorced. Would those divorce proceedings and the sort of financial aspects of that, would that run in tandem with the relocation application? Or?
Yeah, it would. It would, although the relocation decision will probably predate then how you sort out the finances. Although I've had a couple of cases where nothing creates more tension and poison than losing an application for the children, because you still then have to sort out money. But it depends, you know, if you're going to be moving to Manchester, say, chances are the house is going to be cheaper than central London, and if it's Italy, I don't know, but quite possibly. So how you resolve that will depend on where you are
and what you need,
cost of living, and what jobs people are going to have if they're in Italy, and are they going to earn more or less?
And presumably you're increasing costs for the party left behind. That's going to want to come and visit as often as they can.
Sometimes you can have a deal that the person who's won by taking the children then has to pay for the other one to visit, or they come back. You know, you can agree to come back every month or every half term or whatever it is. It's quite precise schedules.
And how strictly policed are they?
Well, they're not policed in that sense. But if the person's in breach, let's say take Italy, though I don't actually know a lot about the Italian family court, but if the parent wins, goes to Italy with the children and doesn't comply with the order, then you would apply to enforce the order in Italy.
Right.
Which you could do. I mean, it's not obviously ideal, but you can then apply. I would think that order would be recognised. And you can have mirror orders as well, so that you can register in
sort of agree to have a mirror order. But again, the practicalities of that. Okay, so Italy says, fine, we recognise this order. You must allow, or you must take the children back once a month. Yeah. They're not actually going to go and frog march the family to a plane, are they? So
no. It's fraught with difficulties. Yeah. I mean, if the person in Italy still has any financial interest in this country, then there are ways to try and enforce that. But I think on the whole, courts are quite, in Europe anyway, are quite sympathetic to an order like that. They wouldn't want to see it just trashed.
And I suppose, I mean, obviously, if you continue to ignore court orders here, you would apply for sort of penal notices attached to them.
Yeah.
Do you do that in your world? It seems a bit
severe. I don't quite know how you'd enforce that in Italy, but I should know.
No, but Italy might, if they've got a mirror order, they could put it on theirs potentially. And then, anyway, fascinating.
The answer is don't split up.
Oh God, that's too late.
or don't marry. And remember, it's not even all married couples. A lot are unmarried couples. And then
that's all
same rules as far as relocation is concerned. Money is obviously slightly different, but maybe avoid falling in love with an Italian girl if you're an English man.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed learning more about relocation. I think it's a really fascinating subject. Sad for the people that have to go through it.
Yeah, I'm sad. They do affect you in a way.
Yeah, it does seem like sort of one of the most painful disputes to have. So to our listener and to anyone else going through that, we are sending good wishes, big hugs. But I think that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for listening and join us next time.